Hello, I'm Matt. This is Wren and Cuff, and we make lots of pedals. Been around since 2007, 2008, and this is what we do. We're here at NAMM showing off all of our stuff. Back around 2007, I started off doing some Big Muff replicas, and there was a lot of people just making a Big Muff and putting a different name on it and not saying what it was. And so my angle for it was I wanted to say exactly what it was and deconstruct pedals like, let's say, the Tall Farm Russian. I took that one as an old soft deck, and rather than just copying a schematic online of it, I actually got a really good unit, took it apart, kind of ruined it a little bit unfortunately, but pulled out the resistors and the caps and checked everything on them. And because over time, a lot of these pedals and vintage units, they get a real big variance, and a lot of times that's what your average player doesn't need, all those details. They don't care about that, but that's what they like about it, whether they know it or not. I won't get too geeky, but there can be a component that'll say 10 UF on it, and you measure it and it's 18 UF, some random number. So what I did was I started taking pedals and doing that, and it worked out really well. And when I cloned them or copied them or whatever you want to call it, I did it warts and all, meaning like the Tall Farm Russian, people would kind of copy that circuit, but it has real low output, real low distortion, and a real low mid scoop, and they would always modify it and add more distortion stuff. And I was kind of like, at a certain point, it's not that pedal anymore. So when I did it with all the warts, and to be honest, I didn't even know if people were going to dig it. I thought maybe people aren't going to get this, maybe they're going to complain because the output's low, there's not much distortion, and people latched onto it. They were willing to look at the pedal as it should be. And with any of our muff recreations, I like to do them as they are. You don't see a lot of switches and a lot of options on our stuff and everything, because there's so many options out there nowadays. I kind of figure if you're putting a shit ton of switches on there and everything, it's not really a Big Muff anymore. So, you can get a different pedal and have all those options. But, if you want a Big Muff, they sound like a Big Muff. They have a nice, sharp mid scoop in them, and they're a Big Muff. That's what they do. And so I wanted to keep it that way. So we started off doing that, and we've always done it. We've gone through, that's like an early soft tech, and then we made the Box of War, and then we went back to, chronologically I may be off here, but then we went back to the 70s, and we made the Ram's Head Caprid. That was another one where I wasn't sure if people are going to get it, and we made the full-size enclosure. It's really heavy, it's really big, but we did the circuit board exactly like the originals. And what I learned through all that is I don't know what people are going to like. I really don't. Like I said, the Tall Font's probably our #1 seller, and of all of our pedals, that was the one the most where I was like, I don't think it's going to sell. I don't think people are going to like it, all that, and it's our #1 seller. The Caprid also, like I just said, I thought enclosure's too big. To get the enclosures made was really expensive. The price is going to be too high. No one's going to want it, and it's done fantastic for us. I'm kind of jumping around here, but this is one that I'm really excited about. It's been out for, I think, 9 months now, 6-9 months. This was done with Troy Sanders from Mastodon, and he's like a really simple dude, and all it is it's a Tall Farm Russian in there with a foot switchable gain stage. I gave him the option of, you can do anything you want, all that, and that's all he wanted to do. He liked it. He said, he's used the Tall Farm forever. He said, I love it. I don't want to change it. I don't want to do anything to it. And we put this kind of the 11 switch on it, where you just hit it and it just pushes everything over the top. And it's a great pedal. It's aimed at bass players because Troy's the bass player and all that. But to be honest, it's Tall Farm Rush. So if you like Tall Farm Russian on guitar, you can do that just as well. We didn't modify it. We didn't add more low end. We didn't anything, because he was very adamant about leaving it how it is. He didn't want us to mess with it. White Elk here, it was a Japan only release. It's goofy because it's a copy of a copy, and essentially there was a company called Elk in the 70s that did these really terrible Big Muff knockoffs. And the like print on them was bad, all the parts were just crap, but Waza from Boris started, not our White Elk, but she started using the Elks, and some of them have this like amazing trashy sound to them. So I did the same thing. I got a hold of a really good one, deconstructed it, and of all of them, the parts or values on that is just all over the road. You really shouldn't use those values because they're so funky, but I just did it anyways. It's got a really weird sweep on it, but right now it's one of my favorites too. It's just a really unique. It still sounds like a Big Muff, but it sounds like kind of a broken Big Muff, but not in a bad way. And it's a really great pedal. The low end on it's a sort of rumbly, weird sort of thing. You just have to kind of, it's hard to explain, but you have to kind of play it. But it's a lot of fun. Pickle B's been in our lineup forever. I could go on for days about this. This is another one. This is our Eala, which is it's not a Big Muff variant. It's not really a variant of anything, but it's got 4 controls. It's got your volume distortion, but it's also got a high pass and a low pass, or you can think of it as bass and treble. It doesn't have any issues with buffered pedals in front of it. It's got a buffer in front of it that adds like a nice sheen. It's not buffered in bypass, but it adds like a nice sheen to things. And it's also, the goal with that one was I wanted to be able to go really low gain and really high gain and have it still be usable. Like even with Big Muffs, you pull the distortion down to a certain point, it just kind of becomes, they're kind of made to be distorted. Well, that one has a ton of gain, but when you roll the gain off with the EQ, and you can tweak the EQs, it still sounds amazing, but totally different. Like you can go from like ZZ Top to like, meltdown Big Muff kind of thing without the mid scoop. That one I'm really stoked on. And then you were asking, about our Sonder. This one was a lot of work to get just how I wanted. If I was smart, I probably like 6 months ago would have just said it was fine and released it. But I kept coming back to it because there would just be little tiny things that I didn't like about it. Just little microscopic things. And I kept coming back to it. And we had dealers that were mad at us it was taking so long. But we kind of pride ourselves on, and I pride myself on being a little obsessive about this stuff. And I didn't want to release something until I was really excited about it. And we've finally got it dialed in. This side is a true analog chorus. It's not analog modeled, or it's not digital modeled to be like analog. It's really all analog. We had to dig up those old chips and everything, which is another story. It was a big pain in the ass. And then on the right side, it's got your traditional tremolo sound, but it's also got a feature where you can bounce between, when it's on blue, that's the more sort of rounded off, warm, Fendery kind of or tremolo, And then when you go here, it gives you that real choppy, like, you can get that like Smith's, like How Soon Is Now, if you have like a distortion pedal before it. In fact, I love playing that riff over and over again on it because it can be, you can get it so hard and like really cop that sound. And it's got a tap tempo, so if you start hitting this, the tap tempo takes over. So you could potentially be like playing with a live drummer, and you just can keep it in time with it. You don't have to worry about that. But then if you decide you don't want to do that and you go to the rate knob, the rate automatically just takes over, which is a nice little feature to have. You don't have to be hitting switches around and everything. And I also made it so to keep switches and all that stuff minimal. When you go to 0 on here, it literally, there's none of the effect in there. So a lot of modulators and stuff, you turn them to 0, there's still some of it coming through. So you can use them totally independently if you want. And then my favorite feature of all is the simplest, is the volume knob, because there's chorus pedals that I love and everything, but there's no volume knob, so you can't get a little boost or it drops out a little bit. So this, you can have as much volume as you want on it. You can also, so it could be, I want to go to a solo and have a little bit of chorus and a little bit of tremolo. You just hit it and you get a boost with it, which is, again, I like to keep it simple, and I like to spend the time and money on getting it just right, rather than a lot of bells and whistles on it.